straight out of
NASA City, Houston, Texas.
Get ready for Tejano Time Podcast. Houston, Texas, tonight.
Giving you the news you can use and bringing you the hottest interviews in the Tejano industry.
It's about to go down with your host, Keith Leah. Houston, Texas.
Are you ready? Let's go.
Tejano Time Podcast starts
Now.
Please welcome your host, Keith Leah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode here of the Tejano Time Podcast. Good evening to each and every one of you out there that's going to be tuning in or has already tuned in right now, the guys, as to everyone out there, okay? Tejano TV as well. We're streaming the show live on Tejano TV right now currently as well. So those of you guys that are on there, everybody logging in right now on whatever platform you're logging in on, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, if you're watching on Tejano TV as well, thank you so much for joining us here on Tejano Time Podcast. As always, every Monday we always bring you some great artists on here to get to know a little bit about the artist, right? But I would like to welcome to the show here Virginia from Grupo Valor. She is with us here tonight and via stream, and she is over in, I believe, New Mexico. Welcome to the show, Virginia.
Yeah. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate you having me on your podcast.
Always a pleasure to have you. I've talked to you in the past as well, during my radio show as well, but this time on the podcast. So again, thank you for taking the time to join us here as well, to get everyone out there familiar with Virginia y Valor. I know there's a lot. You've been around the business for some time, but there's some folks out there that probably, there's always going to be somebody that doesn't know, your music or whatnot, and it's always great to bring them on here so that way you guys can get, your music out and get to know everyone out there. And if you're fans out there, if you're watching, if you have any questions, thank you for joining us for one. If you have any questions for Virginia, we'll definitely take some questions here throughout the show. If you willing to drop them in the box for us, we'll definitely get to those as well. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Virginia. How long have you been doing the musical thing, man? Just singing, doing music, period.
I think I talked to you on your radio show a couple of years back, and I started in 2018 really getting serious about recording. And then in 2019, Chris Rodriguez from Tejano Highway 281, who also has Tejano Powerhouse Records, he asked me if he could put a song that was my very first song that I recorded with him. It was Como Han Pasado los Años. And he said, can I put it on this collaboration CD that I'm doing, between Tejano Highway 281 and Atrapado and, several other groups. And I felt really honored. And so I said, of course you can. So that was my first release, that one song on his CD. And then the following year released the Amor Mio album, which would be like my freshman, album. And then a couple of years later, Adelante, which was with Sevi Contreras in San Antonio.
A lot of great, talented producers right there, and musicians as well at that.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've worked with some excellent musicians, multi-instrumentalists like Chris. Sevi also plays, multiple instruments, but of course his forte is the keyboard. And then this song that I just released that I know you're going to be playing for everybody, Vive, was with Mario O. And he's also one of the best in the Tejano music industry. So I've been blessed.
Yes, Mario O's, another great there, does a lot of things in the studio behind the scenes, and a lot of these guys don't get the credit for that, whether they're performing on stage, but everything they do in the studio, it's like, these guys are amazing, they do a lot.
Absolutely.
I mean, they do a lot of hard work, and it pays off. I mean, it sounds great too at that. So yeah, big shout out to Mario O as well. We're definitely going to get to her new song, her new track here, guys, during the show. So stay tuned for that as well. You got to hear it. It is different, compared to what she's had in the past. It's got some flavor to it, and we definitely, I know you guys are going to enjoy it. All right. So who are some of your biggest musical influences, being, that long in business?
Well, so growing up, I've been listening to music all my life. My father is a music lover, so is my mother. But I think more my dad, always had the music on every single day. And then he was a member of a club called the Sociedad Mutualista Mexicana, and they would book bands that were Tejano groups. So at that time, my family had left. We were in Michigan for a while. And so there was this club, and they were all these families, mostly from the Valley, that would come together. And we had all our dances, the quinceañeras, weddings, and you name it. All the family
Mm-hmm.
get togethers were there at this club. And we had Tejano groups from the Valley. And so I know that was a huge influence for me, always being around the music, the dancing. That's where I learned how to dance, and staying close to our culture was, I think, even more important because we were so far away. And then listening to music. So I ended up going from there to Houston, and then I
Yeah.
lived there for about a year and a half. I remember the club Zaz. I don't know if you remember that one. It's been a
I've heard of
while,
it. I've heard of
but
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that club out there, listening to the radio station. And I think, some of the huge Tejano singers like Jay Perez and Shelly Lares, and and then Elida Reina, and these artists just stand out for me. They
Mm-hmm.
were very influential, but then I was also listening to a lot of different kinds of music. So growing up, um, there was also a Puerto Rican club, and I never forget the first day that I went in there with some friends of mine, and I heard the music. I was listening to salsa, and I had never heard it before, and I said,
Yeah.
"What is this? It's beautiful. I loved it." And then I was like studying people, how they were dancing, and it seemed so elegant. And so then I started listening to that, and I had an older brother who listened to rock and blues, and so I grew up listening to like Stevie Ray Vaughan and AC/DC and Billy Squier, and then pop music and Selena, when she hit
Right.
in the early 90s. And so there were a lot of influences. I don't know that I could pinpoint any one being greater than others, but wonderful artists and various genres. I think vocally, the one vocalist that stands out for me the most is Rocio Durcal, and
Okay.
her style is very different, from what you hear when you listen to like the music that I've worked on with musicians and have released. But I think, when you talk to singers, what gets their attention is how other singers, utilize their voice, and
Mm-hmm.
how they're able to control it. And I think she had, she's passed
She
away
has.
now,
Yeah.
but
Right. Right.
she had a tremendous control over her voice. So I really studied that.
Wow, it's amazing. Great stuff right there. Great story behind the whole ordeal there. That's great. I mean, it's always good to catch up with artists. You know what I mean? To get a little bit of what's happening, what they've gone through, and what it takes to get to where they're at today. And it's there's I'm
Hmm.
sure you have stories and stories just like everyone else, but that's another show. But we
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, it's always great to catch up again. So the name Valor. I mean, what's the story behind that? How did you guys come up with the name?
Honestly, we were sitting at a coffee shop, and I was sitting there with Chris, and
Hmm.
from Tejano Highway 281, and he goes, "Do
Yeah.
you have a name for your band yet?" Because at the time that I approached him, we were talking about recording an album, and this was because when I first started, Keith, I
Hmm.
wasn't even thinking about recording an album. I was just gonna. Um, I just wanted to learn how to record. I wanted to record and just kind of have it. A song or two is what I was thinking. And then it sort of snowballed. I went from working with Los Hermanos Leighton to them kind of pushing me like, you can't just put it on a shelf. People need to hear you. You need to get up on stage. You need to have a band. And then I ended up deciding, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna form a band, and I'm gonna record a whole album. So Chris and
Hmm.
I were sitting there, and I said, no, I don't have a name for my band. I said, I've been thinking about it. I have a list, running list.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what's on your list? And I told him, and he's like, I don't know. Let me keep thinking on it. And then we kept talking, and about 45 minutes later, he comes back. I got it. And I said, what? What do you got? He said, Virginia y Valor. And I go, oh, I like that. It has a nice ring to it. And so it just stuck. That. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, Keith. That's
No, no, you're
Batman.
good. You're good.
That's my little dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So yeah, I mean that's interesting right there. The name of the band there, Virginia y Valor is the name of the artist I have here on the show tonight, guys. So if you're tuned in there, she's got a great new single out. We're going to get to here in just a moment. So if you guys just want to be patient, we'll definitely play that song for you as well. We've got to get to a video as well that she had recorded early on también with a song by the name of Soledad. Do you do any songwriting at all, Virginia?
I have not in a while, but I have Sevi asking me every time I'm on the phone with him if I've written anything lately, because I'm planning on getting back in the studio this coming year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking about it. I probably need to get back to doing some writing. The last one that I did, what I co-wrote, I didn't feel confident enough, I guess, to do it on my own. And I wanted it to be really solid. So I called Beto
Mm-hmm.
Ramon, and
Okay.
he really, he went out on a limb. He doesn't normally do this, but he said, I'm willing to do it with you because it was for a cause. It was for a new nonprofit for abused children in the Rio Grande Valley. So he drove down from Corpus to my house in Huasluco, and we co-wrote a song called Inocentes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Other than that, I have not, but
Yeah,
I think I will.
you never know. It might open some more doors for you. You never know. But I mean, again with Beto there, that's another talented songwriter right there, and he's still doing this what he does and he loves to do is write. Performing as well. But yeah, amazing. To have some talented people like that behind you, and you got some great composers with your new single as well. Some other big names también. We'll get to, when we get to the song, so we'll talk a little bit about more about that as we get there as well. So, can you discuss any experimental approaches or risks that you've taken throughout your, your journey, your musical journey?
Yeah, I definitely have. I think what I can still hear my little dog. I hope the whole world's not hearing him. But anyway, I think one of the big risks that I took was when I worked on My Angel Baby with Toby Bo,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a
Okay.
complete departure. And Tejano is very versatile, and it really is a very dynamic genre where you hear a lot of artists mixing in different genres, and we create very beautiful music that
Music.
has that kind of versatility. But My Angel Baby was such a special song to me for two reasons. So the first is that the co-composer and the lead vocalist and guitarist of that original song, Valde Silva, is my first cousin. So
Okay.
I wanted to honor him, and his band, Toby Bo, is still intact, but looks very different. It's now very small. It's, him, his wife, Renetta, their son, Michael. And when we worked on it, I told Sevi Contreras, at Slack Monster Studio in San Antonio, I said, we want to hold true to the original sound as much as possible. But I realize that that's going to be very different from what you tend to hear. It's not a ranchera, it's not a cumbia, it's not, it's not what the kind of rhythm that you typically hear in our music. But he was all for it. He was very excited about having Toby Bo in his studio too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that was a big risk, but it was worth taking because of that, because of the family connection. And then my son Oscar also got involved as a guitarist on that. And their son Michael was one of the vocalists on the chorus in that song too.
Wow.
But the sound was totally different. And then I told Valde, here's the twist. I'd like to do a bilingual version, and you sing the parts in English and I will sing the parts in Spanish, holding true to my, to my style of recording, because everything I had recorded had been in Spanish, So he said great. So he was all for it. So that was, I think, the first big risk.
Yeah. Wow.
Another one would be this song, Vive. This one's also a departure. And I know everybody's going to hear that.
Yeah, and we were just going to get into that. I was going to talk about this. I mean, if they haven't heard that yet, again, just like she said on the other song there, it's something out of the, I guess let's just talk about that new song right now before we get into any other questions. Vive, which is her brand new single, guys. It's out, and it's out and available on all digital platforms. We're going to play that song here momentarily. We're just going to get some feedback on her right now with Virginia on the song there. Give me some background on how y'all came up with that song there, who wrote the song, composed it, and whatnot. and the twist that you guys put on it, because it's not Virginia y Valor. Well, it is, but it's totally different, and it's got some catch and some pop to it. Put it that way.
Yeah, so that song, Frankie Caballero Sr. Came to me and he said, I wrote a song for you. And he said, I wrote it for you to sing it. I know you're going to sound great singing the song. And he came over, with his guitar, and we were just jamming, and, he shared the song with me, and then I started singing it with him. And he was telling me that he knew Mario O, and he knew how Mario would sound. He kind of envisioned, the style that he would put into it. And he said, that's the only thing, Virginia. He said, if you're willing to record it, he said, I really would want you to work with Mario O. Are you willing to do that? And I said, I don't know him. I don't know what he's produced. I said, let me listen to him. Let me look him up and let me talk to him, and see if I'm comfortable with him. And I did. And I liked the sound. He even, Frankie had a little clip of something that Mario had recorded, and he played it for me from his phone. And I said, I like it, because remember, Keith, that I was telling you how I grew up and listening to all this different kind of music. And so along the way, I picked up on the salsa and merengue and all the tropical, the cumbias colombianas and all of that, different, but yet still connected in a way, to our music, right? So I liked it, and I told him I was willing to do it. So I ended up going up to San Antonio, and I met with Mario, and he said, well, let me work on it. And then he created I think a fantastic very danceable sound. It's got funk,
Yeah.
It's very, very punchy.
Yes, it is. It is very. I mean, we're going to get to that song. Why not play it right now for everybody that's tuned in right now? Let us know what you think as well. We're going to play it for you guys right now, and then take a listen to it and let us know. Well, we want to send a big shout out to Ricky Duran, is watching the show as well right now. Mr. Ricky. We got Mr. Joe Leal, who's saludos y bendiciones, another great artist right there. Luis Garcia también says, good evening, Virginia. How's it going?
Cool.
So all you guys that are tuned into the show right now, thank you so much. And let us know what you think. We're going to kick that song off right now. Vive right here. And it is Virginia y Valor right here on Tejano Time Podcast, guys. Again, it is available on all streaming platforms. So if you like it, go out there and add it to your playlist. Check it out.
Todo se puede lograr, hay que ver para adelante.
There you have it right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. That's right. That is the brand new song that's available on all digital platforms. Virginia y Valor Vive right here. And she is with us. Let me make sure I can get this down right quick so that way everybody can take a look back again. There we go. All right. Awesome. So let us know what you think about the song, those of you that are watching. All right. We got a couple of late guys that tuned in as well. It's the Mr. Antonio Vega. Saludos. Tuned in as well. Dina Madrid right there. We're talking about another one. She's present. Thank you so much, Dina. We appreciate you checking out the show. She got her great show going on as well. She said, good evening, everyone. Pleased to meet you here, Virginia. So she's...
Oh, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate y'all tuning in, listening in here to the podcast.
Yes, everyone. This is definitely a good new single from the artist called Virginia right there. That's a great one there. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. I appreciate that.
Cumbia time.
Cumbia time.
So,
Absolutely.
yes, and then it has again, flavor. It's almost like a salsa merengue type of style, but it's got a beat to it. I love that. It's great. So you did an outstanding job. Of course, the team you had behind you, including Mario O and también also Frankie Caballero Sr., correct, who wrote the song.
Right,
so
right.
Yes,
that's
amazing.
right. And he's a masterful accordionist. I mean, he's like one of the best out of the Rio Grande Valley, but he's also a composer, and a lot of people don't know that about him. So, I think this is a good opportunity for him too to have that recognition that he is an excellent composer. I think he did a wonderful job on that song.
Yes. So Antonio says, great song. I like the rhythm, very upbeat. It says, with your style of music, were you Gloria Stefan? I guess you would say listener or fan, kind of that vibe.
Yeah, it does kind of have that vibe. She's a wonderful artist, one of my favorites. I was just listening to her the other day, and so I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of the influence of Gloria Stefan in there.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. Who is your promoter? Dina wants to know who is your promoter.
Lawrence Cáceres has been the one that's the music distributor, and he did my promos for this song, and the cover art was done by Lawrence as well.
Awesome.
I think he's been wonderful. It's the first time that I worked with Lawrence on something like this, the release of a song. But he's been doing, I think, a fantastic job.
Yes. So a big shout out to Mr. Lawrence himself. That's right, Indio. So always doing great things out there as well. Big shout out going to Mr. Juan Mendoza Jr. watching from Tejano TV as well. So everybody that's tuned in to Tejano TV right now, we thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes. JJ Peña también is tuned into the show. That's right. And Mr. Juan says, saludos from Tejano TV. Great song, Virginia.
Thank you, Juan. I appreciate that.
Amazing. So everybody that's tuned in, thank you so much. Share the live if you're watching right now. Share it with everyone out there on your social media platforms. We got some more questions here for Virginia. Again, she's right now in New Mexico currently right now. So she's going back and forth, originally from Westaco, correct? Westaco is your hometown?
Yeah, so, like I mentioned earlier, my family left for a while. So I was in Michigan, but then I ended up spending, most of my 31 years of my life in Westlaco, and I have a house in Westlaco. But the last couple of years, like I mentioned you before we started the show, I've been spending more time here in New Mexico. My mom's here. My oldest son, Oscar, is now here as well. And so I've been, taking care of family business. Sometimes as artists, we have to pull back and just take care of things, and so that's what I've been doing.
Oh yeah, I agree with you on that. Antonio says we would love to have the single. Which part of New Mexico? Dina wants to know before we get to Antonio's question.
So if you know northern New Mexico, I'm 3 hours driving time north from Albuquerque. So from Albuquerque is Santa Fe, 2 hours north, and then another hour is Taos. And I'm right outside of Taos, New Mexico.
There you go, Dina. Yes.
Way up in the mountains. It's really pretty. It's really pretty here right now. Much cooler than the valley. It's about 50 degrees right now.
Wow. I love that weather.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right. So Antonio says they would love to have the single over at West Texas TejanoExplosion.com. So I believe you can reach out to Lawrence if anything and get that sent his way as well. So
Right.
great. Thank you for that, Mr. Antonio. So we're going to get back to the show right here. So how do you navigate the industry and its challenges, Virginia? Yep.
Tejano, as an industry, is definitely one that is very challenging. So, I have a background in education, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I worked in that sector for a long time. And then when I decided that I was going to go full force into this in Tejano music industry, I had to learn the industry. But I think more than anything, it's about learning the personalities, learning the people that are,
Yeah.
really driving the business behind the scenes. And
Mm-hmm.
there's different facets.
Right.
There's
Right.
like the radio, there's you all, the radio personalities, the stations, and then there's the producers, and then there's the other artists, and then there's people that are, like the Chavezes that put together the big, national Tejano convention. and
Mm-hmm.
and it's getting to know all these people, how they work. And I think navigating it was a little difficult in my first year,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't really as familiar as I wish I had been. And not everybody's willing to share. So when you're a new
Right. Right.
artist and you're asking questions, sometimes you just don't get, very
The
clear answers.
answers that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, there's some people that just aren't really that willing to be helpful, because there's so many artists out there, and maybe, some people are a little too competitive. I don't know. But I think I ran into some of that. And then as I just continued trying, because I'm tenacious. I don't know if you know what I mean by that word. I don't give up. I will keep
Yeah.
at whatever it is that I'm working at.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept talking to people. I kept asking questions, and I'd look things up. And I started meeting some really helpful people. And I'll tell you one of them, just to give you an example. Linda Escobar. When I was working on my
Okay.
first album, um, she was willing to record Frijolitos Pintos with me. And which to me was just like, wow, Linda. I mean, because that's her song. She'd been singing it since she was a
It's
little
for
girl, her
yeah.
and her with her dad. I mean, so I was really honored. And she wouldn't take a penny. She was like, no, sister, you're now my musical sister, she said, and I'm going to help you because I believe in you and I want to help you. And that's how we need to be. And one day you're going to be in a situation where somebody's going to approach you. And it's happened, and they
Yeah.
approach you and they have questions, and I want you to help them too. And I have, but I will never ever forget those people who have been there for me, like Shelly Lattis too. She's another one that was just beautiful when it came to her willingness to collaborate with me on La Reina Se Rey. And and it was a fantastic experience to be on Shelly's showcase in Vegas and perform.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the song together. So I was on the stage together with Shelly, and so I think people just need to know that yes, the industry can be tough. There can be
Yeah.
that competitive nature, but you have to just keep at it, and you're going to meet some of these people out there in the industry that are just so supportive and
Yes.
so helpful. They've
Very.
been there, they've done it, they know it's not easy. And I think especially for women, it's traditionally
Yes.
been a very male dominated industry.
Mm-hmm.
And so to break in, as a female, and to even just to get your music played on the radio, can
Mm-hmm.
be
It can be
hard. Just
challenging. Very hard.
knowing how to navigate the process. How do
Mm-hmm.
you get the music out to them appropriately? Because you'll
Yeah.
find out over time that there's like a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And if you don't do it right, they're not going to put it on the radio. You
Yeah, that's
learn.
it's tough. You know what I mean? It is very very tough. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of stations out there that still work that way where, it's like you said, a male dominant. But there's a lot of female artists out there that don't get that
Yeah.
opportunity to get their music heard, and it's sad, but it is very true.
It is, but can I tell you something? Because I don't
Sure.
want to I don't want people
No,
to
no, no.
misunderstand me. I'm not. And
Sure.
so here's the thing, Keith. Having come from education, you see more women that are teachers, right? So you
Hmm.
think it's a very female dominated industry. But even in education, I found that when I wanted to really move up, when I really wanted to be of greater influence,
Yeah.
there were more men in those higher level positions in administration. So for me to get to where I wanted to go, and get people's attention that, hey, I can do this. I had to continue to get further in my education, which is part of why I didn't start singing younger. I didn't start recording, until later, because I was so busy working on my career. And so when I compare these two industries, I think there really is a lot in common. There is some of that competitive nature, I think, probably in every industry. I think there's good people and helpful people, and then there's others that aren't willing to share and willing to help you in any industry. Because I even ran into that, in education, and that I kept at it. And then it wasn't until after I finished my doctorate and after I, was in administration, I was like, okay, I think I can now. I'm not going back to school. I have time in the evenings. I have time on the weekends. I can focus on singing and music because it's something that I always wanted to do. And now I finally have some time that I can do it.
Can do it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So that's a great answer for sure. There's no doubt. And then, well, not an answer, but we were something that we led on to insights. Yes, definitely. So you always got to get that out there. But Dina, before we go, Dina had something we touched on earlier where she was at over in New Mexico. She's over in Las Cruces, Mexico. That's where she says she's at.
Oh, okay. Hey, Dina. Yeah, I know where that's at.
Now,
well, cool. Well, let's get the music out there in Las Cruces.
Yeah, Paul Reyes Music also says he worked with Shelly on his first single, She Is Great. So, okay. Thank you for that, Paul. Appreciate you guys tuning into the show, wherever you may be tuning in from. Thank you so much. But a few more shout-outs right here. Johnny J. Martinez got us tuned in here. Eli Perez, Grupo Entrigo, also watching the show. And those guys will be here on the podcast very, very soon as well. Mr. Sean Sembrano is watching. That's right. Tejano Swag Radio. Javier Gonzalez, saludos. Joanne Peña is also tuned into the show. Let's see. We got... let's see here. JJ Peña, I believe we said his name earlier as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Carrasco Garcia. And who else we got? Lori as well. Tony Martinez. And several other people watching the show on one of our platforms. So thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody on Tejano TV as well that's watching, thank you for joining the show here this evening. My guest tonight, Virginia y Valor, right here on Tejano Time. So Virginia, so what is the most significant challenge you faced as a female singer or as a group together as a band?
I think my greatest challenge was the fact that I lost some very instrumental musicians in my band. I mean, these were people that I just felt were so important to the sound that I was trying to create. And so first I had Pablo Guzman, who wanted to be my bass player, and for like 2 years kept telling me, I want to be your bass player. And he was with other bands, and it was a little tricky. I didn't want these other people, and one of them was a good friend of mine. And I said, I don't want him to think I'm trying to take away his musician, so I'm just going to respect the fact that you're with that band, and I'm not asking you to be in my band right now. And at the time I had somebody else. But then I finally got to a point where I was ready to have him in my band, and he backed off, and I didn't understand. I was like, he's been asking me for 2 years, what's going on? And then I finally spoke to him, and he was already at the point where, stage 4 cancer, is in the hospital, and not too long after that passed away. So I lost Pablo, and he was a good friend. He was one of the people in this industry that really took the time and put forth the energy to back me up. If it weren't for him, I would have never performed at Fanfare the first time that I did, because I didn't know who the coordinator was. I didn't know what the application process was. And he asked me, aren't you on schedule, to perform? It was like the first year that we were, performing. And I said, no. And he's like, well, did you ask this person? And I said, well, yeah. And he's like, and then what? And I said, well, I haven't heard back. I don't know. And he said, hold on. He said, I'll call you right back. He calls me 15 minutes later, and he said, call this number. I said, well, who am I calling? He said, that's the event coordinator. He said, I already talked to him. He's going to put you in the schedule. He had your application, but it was, in there, and he hadn't put you in the schedule. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, but he had you. So I talked to him, and he said, yes, there was still room. And so I was like, wow. And
Wow.
and so that was helpful. It was important, to me, that he believed in me. And he would tell me, there are singers, Virginia, that I've worked with that um, they're more about, revealing their body. And, he said, but when I see you, you just get up there and you sing. And he said, and
Yeah.
that's what you need to do. And I said, are you sure? Because, I've had people tell me you need to show more. What you have, you need to flaunt it. That's part of the industry. People need to see that. And I grew up very reserved, very modest. And so I really had a hard time with that. And it made me feel good that there were people like him who said, you don't have to do that. What people really
Yeah.
care about is, can you sing? And
Mhm.
you just get up there and you sing,
Yeah.
and then I lost Rudy, and Rudy Garza was my keyboard player that I had from the very beginning. He knew my vocals so well that he could tell right away, you can sing the song over here, you can sing it in this key, where are you more comfortable? And he'd play it here, and he'd move it over here, and then um, and he'd anticipate when we were on stage what I was going to do, how I was going to sing it, and he was with me, every step of the way. And he
Yeah.
helped the other musicians too if they couldn't find something, like on the guitar, and he played so many different instruments. So
Mhm.
even with the drums, he was guiding the drummer. And then he passed away last year.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
was actually, I take it back. It's been 2 years already. Doesn't seem like it, but it's been 2 years already that I lost Rudy, my keyboard player Rudy Garza. And then one of my drummers, Minnie, she was the one that was in Vegas with us. We had a lot of great memories with Minnie.
Mhm.
And Minnie, as you know, recently passed away from cancer as well. So
Right.
all three
Right.
of them from cancer. It was just, I think for me, those were huge obstacles, because when you have a band, and they're coming over to your house, and you're getting together, on a
Yeah.
weekly basis, rehearsing, getting ready for your
Mhm.
gigs, and you become a sort of a family. These are more than friends, because it's a very deep connection. Music is a very personal thing, and people really put their heart and soul into making music. So I have a lot of beautiful memories. I had a lot of beautiful experiences, and these were people that I considered dear friends. So it's been rough,
Yeah. Yeah.
and hard.
That's
For a
some.
while, I couldn't sing. I'll be honest. I mean, it affected me so badly that I just couldn't get myself to sing, especially after Rudy passed away. It really, really hit me.
Wow. Took you some time to come back around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes. I wanted to send out some hellos to Sabrina Hernandez, who also is watching the show this evening. Thank you so much, Sabrina. Juan says we have your video streaming on Tejano TV. So, yes, I believe that's
Oh,
probably
yeah. Thank
Soledad,
you.
right?
Right. And Soledad,
Yes.
that one Lawrence did the video for.
Yeah, and we're going to
Oh,
play that
Spanish
here in
Island.
just a little bit. Yeah, we're going to
Okay.
play it, everybody. So tune in for that here in just a few minutes. We're going to play that video. Bobby Pena also tuned in. Says, tuning in late, but I'm here. Saludos, Keith in Virginia. I guess he's watching on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, Bobby Pena. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Tejano Time Podcast this evening as well. Yeah. So, what are your goals and aspirations for Virginia y Valor going forward?
Keith, that's an interesting question, because I've had to do some soul searching and really think about that myself this last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot stay away from music. Music is too important to me. And so um even though there were some other things that needed my attention, and then I had these other, these losses that I talked about, and how it affected me, and I wasn't singing for a while, and I think now what I've arrived at is that I need to keep singing. I need to keep, even if it's like recording. I got a call the other day to sing the national anthem at a boxing event. And,
Wow.
if
Mm-hmm.
if if I may later, get a band together and perform again. Um, if I'm out there even if it's just like me and one or two other musicians as opposed to my former 7-member band, including myself, because it was me and
Hmm.
6 musicians. I'm okay with that. I really am. I've had to come to terms with the fact that um, my love for the music and my love for singing doesn't have to be, this big group, on stage the way that I had it in the past. It
Hmm.
can be different, and that's okay as long as I'm still singing, because it's not about for me, it's not about the recognition, it's not about the number of people in your audience, so even if it's smaller audiences, but there's people there that are enjoying the music,
Yeah.
and you're enjoying making the music, and it does something good for people, including yourself, in your life, then it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say is what I'm looking forward to, seeing how this develops. I think it's like a journey, that I'm on with
Yeah.
music. And I have wonderful memories of the big stages, and big audiences, and I'm happy. I'm really, really happy about that. So we'll just see where it goes from here. I'm looking forward to making music out here in New Mexico too. There's
Awesome.
an
Awesome.
artist seems a little different. It's a little different out here, but my mother's from here, so I have roots here. And that's
Hmm.
important to me too, just like my roots in the valley on my dad's side, because he's originally from, Westlaco. And so I believe that for me it's important to stay true to who I am. And
Yeah.
I believe that, music is just a part of me, and it's going to come out, you know, one way or
Yeah.
another. It's just
One way or
part
another,
of
it
me.
will. Yeah, it's part of you. And speaking of memories, I know there's been some festivals or some big stages that you have performed on in the past. Name it. I'm sure you have it. I'm sure there's one out there that you
Yeah.
love to perform at, and you have performed at, and you enjoyed doing it, whether it be a festival or a big stage somewhere. You have one of those under
Believe it
you?
or believe it or not, in Colorado, there's a huge festival every year called the Pueblo Chili Festival.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
Frankie Caballero was my accordionist at the time that we were asked to perform at that festival. And so he came with me from Texas. Of course, Oscar, my son, on guitar, David on bajo, and then I picked up a couple musicians in Colorado because there's a Tejano music scene here too. So
Right.
I
Right.
had a drummer and a bass player from out here, and then Leo. Actually, I can't remember his last name now, but that was after Rudy passed away. Right after Rudy passed away, in fact, because he passed away like just weeks before that gig, and so I picked up a um, Bennett, that's his name, from Brownsville. Leo Bennett came and helped me out on keyboard. Um, and we had, I would say easy 3,000 people
Hmm.
that were, outside just all around the
Wow.
stage, and just looking across, at the thousands of people was a lot of fun, performing for all those people having a good time. And then because I have a lot of family that have gone over the generations from New Mexico to Colorado, and then they had kids and they had kids. I have a lot of cousins in Pueblo, so I had a lot of family that showed up. So that was a special thing. And then, of course, the other big one was at the National Tejano Convention that the Chavezes put on in Las
Okay.
Vegas, Nevada.
Hmm.
And having been invited to perform on Shelley's showcase, and then being able to do La Reina del Rey because we had recently released the song, so I did it with Shelley on stage, and that was amazing.
Amazing.
That
Yeah.
was an awesome, yeah. And
Wow.
then I mean, we did a lot of festivals like the Onion Festival in Westlaco. That was another one that was a favorite of mine. And the last year that I performed at that one, Chente Barrera was also there, and we
There.
had just recorded Inocentes together.
Hmm. Wow.
Great,
Yeah, so
great memories.
a lot of great memories, a lot of big stages out there in the past there for
Yeah,
Virginia.
one other Keith that I remember very fondly is when I got a call from Ruben Lopez. I don't know if he still is, but he was the president of Tejano Roots out of Alice,
Hmm.
and he
Yes.
said we're planning for the induction ceremony. This was the January 2021,
Hmm.
and he said I I've listened to you. I love your voice. He said, let me just put that out there first. That's why I'm calling you.
Yeah.
And he said, I want you to come and perform if you're interested and you're willing to do it. And it was a challenge because he said, you've got 20 minutes and you need to play nonstop. And we need to hear like just parts, not the whole song, parts of about 4 or 5 different songs. And he said, can you do it? Can your band do it? I said, they can do anything. I said, we'll be ready. And it was a challenge because we'd never performed like that before. You know, it was always like the song beginning to end and then you transition to another one. But they were like, we can do it. And so we hustled and we rehearsed, you know, we got ready and we did our thing. It was fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yes. So Ruben Lopez. Yes, I believe he still is. Yes, definitely. We had him comment on the show recently. It's been a minute, about maybe a month ago or so. But he's still out there. President and CEO, Mr. Ruben Lopez. Great guy, as a matter of fact, as well. So,
He is a wonderful person. Mm-hmm.
Let me send out to, let's see, we got Rosario Garcia también, also La Jolla Promotions tuned into the show. J.R. Reina is tuned in also. We appreciate you guys watching the show tonight, guys. Thank you. For Eli Perez también, thank you. Share the live. Javier Gonzalez también is tuned in. Javier Gonzalez, I believe, what is that? Delta Boys. Couldn't get it out. Yeah, saludos.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they're one of my favorite local groups in the Valley. I
Amazing.
remember bumping into them one time at Arturo's, the restaurant over there, and I was like, man, you guys are awesome. Yeah,
they are. Well, we're gonna play Soledad, okay, which is a video that how long ago was this video out? Several years ago.
And that released in 2022, so it was just 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, not bad, not bad. And it's a great video, guys. This video, tell me, let's get some background on this video right quick. I know you know a lot more than I do about the background on it, so let's get the word from you.
Yeah. Yeah, so the composer of this song, Juan de Leon, is from Westlaco, and he came over to my house. He was a friend of a friend. He was a friend of the bass player that I had at the time, Juan Cruz. And so he came over, and he has his guitar, and he's singing, and he says, you know, I used to play with the Sonny and the Sunliners back in the day, and he's, you know, giving just kind of a little bit about himself, you know, as a musician and what he's done. And then he says, you might like this song. And he starts singing it, and then he stops and he says, actually, it's a true story. And I said, tell me the story. Yeah. And he said, well, he said, I was about, you know, 30 years old. He said, I'm dating this, you know, lady, right? And he said, and then all of a sudden for 2 weeks, she didn't call me, and I didn't know what was going on. She didn't tell me, but I kind of suspected, you know, maybe she's seeing somebody else or interested in someone else. And he said, anyway, so I'm sitting, he said, I'm kind of like leaning, he said, in the front of my vehicle talking to a friend of mine that I bumped into. And there's a street right in front of us, the car that was, you know, my car that was parked, and we're leaning there, you know, talking to each other. And I see this car coming down the road real slow. And he said, and there's a guy driving, and the windows are rolled down. It was hot. And I see her, and she goes like this. You know, if you can imagine her looking out the window, and she makes eye contact. And he said, and as soon as she did that and they kept driving by, the song came to my head. He said, and so he said, I just started thinking, te vi pasando con otro. Or for him, it was, you know, con otro, right? So I had to convert it con otra, right? But and then he said, within 24 hours, I wrote the song. Wow. And I said, wow. And so I thought that he wrote it as a bolero. And at the time, I had told him, I'm looking for a good bolero to record. So he played it real slow, and he sang it as a bolero. And so I took it to Sevi. Sevi goes, Virginia, I don't hear that song as a bolero. I think it'll sound a lot better as a ranchera. And I said, well, give me the tempo and play a little bit on the keyboard. Let's hear it. Let me see. Let me try to sing it as a ranchera. So he does, and I go, you're right. I go, I hope Juan isn't disappointed. So then I go back to Juan. Hey, guess what? We recorded that song. And I'm like, my God, I don't know how to tell him. And then I go, Juan, I hope you're not disappointed, but we recorded it as a ranchera. And he started cracking up. He goes, and I changed it. It was originally a ranchera. I made it a bolero for you because that's what you told me you wanted. And he said, He said, that's perfect. He said, no, I'm not disappointed. And then he was real happy with the sound. So in the video, you actually see the composer on bass. And I can't remember exactly why. I don't remember what happened, but my bass player at the time couldn't go to be in the video. So I called Juan and I was like, hey, this is perfect because, I need somebody up here on stage, and I know you know the song. And he's the only guy. He's got a turquoise instrument and bass, right? And he's singing the whole song. The whole time in the video, and that was not supposed to happen, but he couldn't help it. And I was like, no, that's fine.
Couldn't help it.
Fun.
Awesome. Well, here's the video, guys. Check it out, and look for that bass player in the video as well. So she just pointed it out. So we're not pointed it out, but mentioned it. But take a look at the video. Soledad is the name of the song. Virginia y Valor, right here on Tejano Time. We'll be back to wrap things up here in just a few. Check it out. Awesome, awesome, and an awesome location as well for that video right there. Longboards there over in South Padre.
Yeah,
Yes.
we performed out there several times, and what's cool about that place is that you're literally on a stage that is built above the bay, and so
Hmm.
you're above the water, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
amazing. A lot of artists out there. A lot of great things happen out there on the weekend. Somebody a great choice to shoot that video. That's sure
absolutely.
y'all had a lot of fun doing that as well. So,
Oh,
yeah,
we did.
and a lot of people tuned in. I mean, liked the video as well as the. A lot of people from what do we have? People on the YouTube that they were tuned in there. We have let's see some of the comments that we got there. I believe it was Albert Miranda is watching on our YouTube channel. También says hello, Virginia. Saludos. I am in
All
San
right,
Antonio, and happy Monday.
all right. Happy Monday.
Yes, and also says wow, she can sing. That is coming from Nostalgic. It's a Pod Blast over in Georgia. Tuned into the show as well on our YouTube
Oh,
channel.
cool. Well, let's get the
Yes.
music out there in Georgia.
Yes, yes. And a super awesome namely song right there is coming from Luis Garcia. Super great song from Antonio as well and video. So, yeah, amazing. Albert Miranda has some, let's see, he said, I know the place, that place, city is South Padre Island, Texas. When I was there to visit, go to the beach, I went in what beach? Oh, Nueces Beach, yeah. So, oh, yeah, but that's another place there, también. But yeah, over in
Yeah, yeah.
different all the entire coast of South Texas as well. You can do a lot of great things out there on the beach. So yeah, but thank you for that, Albert. Appreciate you watching our YouTube channel. To everybody on Tejano Time, Tejano TV, that is, it's tuned in. A lot of great people tuning in as well. Social media handles, Virginia. Where can they find you on social media?
I'm all over social media. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. Um, what else is there? I think those are the big ones, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
pretty much. And your website it plays a huge part. I mean,
yes,
if you have the
yes. So
website.
we also have our virginiavalor.com.
There you go. So look her up, guys, on all her social media platforms. Give her a follow and stream her music. Her new song, Viva, is out. And again, it's on all streaming platforms, whether it be Spotify, you got the Apple Music, all streaming platforms, guys. So go out there, search her name. She's got a lot of great music as well. It's not just the only one, but so the Soledad is there también. If you want that song, it's available as well. Juan Abrigo también is tuned in. He says, what's up,
Nice one.
Johnny y los Plowboys? Says hello to you all.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. We appreciate all the fans and all the other, people in the industry and the musicians out there that are listening and tuning in and, playing our music because, streaming it, downloading it,
Yeah.
however people choose to listen to their music, or going onto your radio station, Keith. It's all important. If we want to keep this music alive, we've got to be the ones that are listening to it and playing it for the younger generation so that they grow up like we did, growing
Yeah.
up listening to it in the home.
Hmm.
Because unfortunately, over time, if we don't do that, it might get lost. It,
It
it
might.
hasn't gotten lost,
No.
but we never want to take that chance. So we need to make sure that we introduce it to the younger generations by playing the music. And, those of us that are in the industry making the music, we don't do it for the money. We just
All
do it
right.
because we love the music. And,
Mhm.
that's just part of who we are. It's part of what we do. Um, so I always want to just encourage people, just keep listening, keep playing it, and let's never forget where we come from and stay true
Mhm.
to our roots.
Yeah.
And for anybody out there, a phrase that you hear and you saw it on the video at the very end, it ends with adelante y con ganas. That was on my t-shirts.
Mhm.
That was
Yeah.
on like articles, that were written about me. That's something that I always said because, and I still say, right, to people because I want people to know that whatever your goals are, whatever you want to accomplish in life, don't give up. Adelante in English means, go for it, right?
Go for it. Yeah.
And échale con ganas because sometimes things are very challenging, right? And that doesn't mean that we should give up. We may have to
Yeah.
sometimes take a step back and we might fall down a
Mhm.
little, but we should dust ourselves off and pick up
And
and
get it
move
right.
forward and just keep at it.
Very, very, very true right there. So any words of encouragement
Mhm.
to the young generation out there that are just starting out maybe or thinking about even actually getting to record music and whatnot going forward?
Oh, absolutely. And what I think that they should always remember is that if somebody else did it before them, they can do it too. And to sometimes know that you're going to have to stop and tell yourself that, and remind yourself that when nobody else will. You've got to pat yourself on the back. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you may feel like crying. Sometimes you might feel pain, in your
Yeah.
heart because things are hard, but don't give just keep at it if it's something that's important to you, and then realize that sometimes people that aren't helpful are not, they're just not in the right place to do that, and you have to keep kind of going around it. If you can't go around something, go over it, go under it.
Yeah, exactly.
But keep just keep at it, and know that for those of the artists, like the great artists in Tejano that I've worked with, like Shelly, and um these artists that have really done tremendous things in the industry, they didn't do it without having to work hard. I read
Hmm.
one time that, and I thought it was funny, but it's so true: the harder I work, the luckier I got.
Yeah, yeah. Believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta work.
Very true.
Everything takes work. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, everything, everything. So,
Mhm.
right now, music wise, what's next for Virginia y Valor? I know you just released a
Right
new
now,
single, but right now, again, like you said,
yeah,
you're just taking it all in right now, taking a step back. Not that you're going to put it on the shelf. You just want to take it
yeah,
back and look at the
no.
big
Mm-mm.
picture and then decide later on what you really want to, how you want to go forward.
Yes, actually I talked to Sevi Contreras, and Sevi's producer that produced that song
So,
Soledad, and the album was called Adelante, and he called me, and I said, Sevi, I said, I know I need to get back over to your studio. It's going to be a little while, until I get back over there, but I will. And I said, I want to do some new music. I want to do some original music. I did a lot of covers. My first album was like
mhm.
totally covers, and then the second one was kind of a mix. Um, but I think at this point, I really want to release more original music, either that I compose, or I also gave him a little homework. I said, just listen and see if you have something there that you can hear me singing, because he knows my vocals, he knows my capacity, to my
Yeah,
range is what I mean, and I said, if you hear me singing it, man, put it in front of me. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it's something that I'll want to record. I'm definitely going to entertain the possibility.
yeah,
And then, like I said, the other thing that I have in mind, I'm creating a space for myself to work on music over here, and so and I play. I grew up playing the piano, and then I kind of self-taught, to myself to play the guitar, and I
hmm,
want to get back to it. And so I
yeah.
think that once I do that, and I start creating music out here, then I want to start performing again, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
may not be, like I said, a big band, maybe just a couple of people,
Right,
and
right. Yeah,
they'll
definitely.
yeah,
Well, we'll be looking out for
yeah.
that for sure. There's no doubt about that. And I want to send a big shout out to David that says, nice interview. Saludos. Thank you so much for tuning
Thank
into the
you.
show. Yes. So
Appreciate that.
great, great to have everybody aboard, everyone that tuned into the show. My guest tonight, Virginia E. from Grupo Valor as well. So, again, we just caught up with her. She's got a lot of things going on right now, a lot of great things in the works. You never know. Just you can follow her on her social media pages, okay, guys?
Yes,
Uh,
please do.
and her website también. Go out there and check it out. Her music's available there and all the streaming platforms. Go out there and add it to your playlist. Okay, Virginia. One last question for you. What do you like to do? Or what interests do you have outside of when you're not doing music or anything, or teaching and whatnot, or school, or in your normal everyday life? What do you like to do for fun on the side? You know,
I spend a lot of time just being physically active. So
yeah,
I go to the gym almost every day, and if I'm not at the gym, it's because I'm working outside. And there's a lot of stuff to do out here in New Mexico. People that are have ever been to this area, they can understand exactly what I'm talking about, because there's just a lot of, there's trees, you have rivers, and so
Hmm.
there's always season changes, and there's just work to do, and I don't shy away from it. If I can be out there working, even if I have to have somebody that helps me because it's too much and I can't do it by myself, they're gonna come, and they're gonna maybe take the hard stuff that I can't do, but I'm not gonna leave them alone. I'm gonna be out there working too.
Working
So
there.
I don't consider it like a negative of work. I think of it as kind of like just a different way to work out. It's exercise, and I like that. And I've discovered that I love to go hiking, and so that's been kind of a new thing for me these last couple of years. I've gone hiking a little bit out here in the mountains, and I find
Mm.
that it's very, very peaceful. And I think that peace has contributed to my ability to come back to singing. And I've been catching myself without realizing it. I'm doing something, and I realize I'm
Yeah.
singing again, or I'm in the truck, driving, and I start singing, and I'm like, oh, it's back. It's
It's,
coming back. It's a
mhm.
good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is definitely right. And Antonio says here, it's almost angel fire time in New Mexico. Well, whatever the heck
Oh
that
yeah.
means. I guess
Yeah.
fire season, or what is he talking about? It's almost
Well,
angel fire
Angel.
time.
Well, so I think what
What are you
he's
talking
talking
about?
about is literally there. Literally, there's a place called Angel Fire, and it's right around the corner from Taos.
Oh wow.
I think
Okay, so
I think he's talking about Angel Fire. Because it's a popular place to go. People go fishing. That's the other thing. I had a
okay.
cousin that taught me how to fish for trout, and I caught my first um, uh, what do they call it? Rainbow trout this last year, and then I also learned how to kayak. So
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the great outdoors here, and it's been wonderful. Those have been my hobbies.
Yeah, he says yips. Yips.
Yeah,
So that's what he's talking about.
yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, so he's actually from New Mexico. So great deal there then.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
so he knows Angel
So
Fire
he's
definitely.
I believe he's in Lubbock now, but he's a great friend of
Mhm.
ours as well that watches the show, and yeah, New Mexico right there. So great deal. Thank you, Antonio. Appreciate that. So and everybody that tuned in tonight, thank you so much, Virginia. I couldn't thank you enough for taking the time to join me here on the show to share your music
Thank you, Keith.
with everybody out there in Tejano Time Podcast World, everybody on Tejano TV, YouTube, everyone that joined us tonight. Thank you so much. And for all of you guys that continue to support the show as well, week in and week out, we appreciate you. We thank you so much for showing us love as well. And we're going to continue to go forward with this as well. Every week, Monday, new artist in here sharing their music. So tonight's guest was Virginia Valor, and we appreciate her. Don't forget to stream Vive. It's out there, guys. It's available on all digital platforms. And the videos as well. Just check her up on YouTube, her YouTube channel. She's got a lot of live performances she's done there in the past también. So go out there and check it out. Here's a picture right here of the album cover photo there, Vive. So go out there and add it to your playlist, guys, right here. Virginia y Valor, Vive song is out. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, guys. Again, Virginia, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. God bless. And again, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, igualmente. God bless you too, Keith, and your family and your father. I've there's a special place in my heart. Like I said, he never forgets my birthday. He's a very sweet man, and I know he's done a lot in the industry. So thanks again for having me on the show, and thank you to all of you that have been tuning in and listening to this and playing our music.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Very welcome, and we will talk to you very, very soon. Best of luck.
Thank you.